Welcome, coin lovers. Today, we'll explore three fascinating American quarters: the 1966 quarter dollar, the 1977 quarter dollar, and the 1987 D quarter dollar. These aren't just coins. They are historical snapshots of their times, carrying stories of silver shortages, design traditions, minting quirks, and collector surprises. Stay with me, because each of these quarters has more to tell than meets the eye. The 1966 quarter dollar. The story of the 1966 quarter begins in an era of financial tension. In the mid-1960s, the United States faced a silver crisis as rising silver prices pushed the cost of coin production higher than their face value. To combat hoarding and shortages, the mint shifted from silver to clad composition starting in 1965. The 1966 quarter represents the early years of this bold new monetary experiment. On the obverse, we see John Flanagan's classic portrait of George Washington. His dignified profile is framed by the word liberty at the top, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date 1966 just below. It's a design that had already been familiar to Americans for over 3 decades. Yet in 1966 it took on new symbolism, representing stability during an era of change. The reverse continues with a heraldic eagle, wings outstretched, clutching a bundle of arrows, with an olive branch just below. The eagle is surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America and quarter dollar. The balance of power and peace reflected in this design had a special resonance at the height of the Cold War. The metal composition was revolutionary for its time. Instead of 90% silver, the 1966 quarter featured a clad planchet, 75% copper and 25% nickel layered over a pure copper core. This gave the coin its distinctive silvery look without the cost of precious metal. It was a practical solution, though many Americans initially distrusted these new sandwich coins. One unusual fact about the 1966 quarter is the absence of mint marks. From 1965 to 1967, the mint eliminated mint marks altogether to discourage collectors from hoarding specific issues. This makes it impossible to distinguish whether your 1966 quarter came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, an unusual feature that sets it apart from most other years. When it comes to mintage, the mint produced more than 821 million quarters in 1966. This massive output was intended to reassure the public and stabilize circulation. While such high numbers mean the coin is far from rare, it also tells a story of how critical coinage was to the everyday economy. Despite being common, there are interesting errors and varieties worth noting. Collectors have identified double die obverse errors, off-center strikes, and clip planches from this year. These rare mistakes transform an ordinary 25-cent coin into a collector's prize worth dozens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on condition. So, what about value? In worn circulated condition, most 1966 quarters are worth face value, just 25 cents. But in mint state grades, especially MS-65 and above, they can bring $15 to $25. If you happen to find a dramatic error or an exceptionally well-preserved example, the value could be far higher, making the 1966 quarter a sleeper gem in some collections. From the turbulent 1960s and the dawn of clad coinage, we move ahead a decade to the 1970s, a time when the clad quarter was firmly established in American wallets, yet still carried secrets of collectors to uncover. The 1977 quarter dollar. The 1977 quarter dollar might seem ordinary to casual observers, but numismatists know that even common coins have stories to tell. By 1977, the United States was well into the era of clad coinage, and silver quarters had already become relics of the past. Yet the Washington quarter design remained unchanged, linking modern currency to its Depression-era roots. The obverse again features George Washington, a design that had become one of the most recognizable images in American money. The sculpted lines of Flanagan's portrait retain their stately simplicity, though collectors often note the varying strike quality between mints. The reverse, too, carried forward a heraldic eagle with arrows and olive branches. Though some considered it outdated, the design symbolized tradition and continuity. In fact, it would continue for another 2 decades before the dramatic redesign of the state quarters program. The metal composition remained copper-nickel clad, durable, practical, and inexpensive compared to silver. By now, the The public had long accepted the absence of precious metal, and the 1977 issue circulated freely across the country. Unlike the 1966 quarter, mint marks were back in use by 1977. Philadelphia struck quarters with no mint mark, Denver used a D, and San Francisco produced proof coins with an S. This reintroduction gave collectors more variety to pursue, especially with proofs. The mintage numbers were high, roughly 256 million at Philadelphia, 255 million at Denver, and about 3 million proofs at San Francisco. These figures ensured that the 1977 quarter would be common, but it also meant that quality control occasionally slipped, opening the door for collectible errors. Among errors and varieties, the 1977 quarter is known for off-center strikes and double strikes, though they are relatively scarce. A few transitional planchet errors are also rumored, where coins may have been struck on leftover metal blanks from other denominations. Such coins are worth hundreds or even thousands, depending on their uniqueness. In terms of values, most 1977 quarters in circulation remain worth only face value. But in high mint state grades like MS-65, values range from $10 to $15. Proof coins with deep cameo contrast can sell for $30 to $50. Truly exceptional grades, MS-67 and above, are quite rare and can command prices well into the hundreds. Collectors appreciate the 1977 quarter not because it is rare, but because it serves as a reminder of how stable coinage design remained for decades. For many, it represents the everyday change of the 1970s, now preserved as a piece of history. From the steady tradition of the 1970s, we now leap into the vibrant 1980s. Here we find the 1987 D quarter dollar, a coin that seems ordinary but carries its own quirks and collector intrigue. The 1987 D quarter dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, was part of an era just before one of the greatest changes in U.S. coin collecting, the launch of the state quarters program in 1999. Looking back, the 1987 D represents the final stretch of the classic Washington quarter before dramatic innovations transformed the series. On the obverse, Washington's portrait remained unchanged. Still, subtle differences in strike quality distinguish Denver quarters from those of Philadelphia. Sharp examples show crisp hair details and bold lettering, but many circulation strikes from Denver are weaker, adding a layer of challenge to collectors seeking perfection. The reverse design again features a heraldic eagle, a symbol of American resilience. By 1987, this eagle had already graced quarters for more than 50 years. Some collectors at the time considered it repetitive, yet today, that continuity makes the coin historically significant. The metal composition remained copper-nickel clad, unchanged since 1965. By now, the clad quarter was fully entrenched in circulation, with no silver issues for regular coinage. Proof versions, however, were struck in San Francisco using specially polished dies for collectors. The mintage numbers for the 1987 D were substantial, over 655 million coins. This huge figure reflects the economic boom of the late 1980s, when quarters were essential for vending machines, arcades, and payphones. For older collectors, these coins may even stir nostalgic memories of that era. Paragraph 23. When it comes to errors and varieties, the 1987 D is worth watching closely. Off-center strikes, die cracks, and misaligned dies are known to exist. More dramatic are wrong planchet errors, where quarter design was accidentally struck on a nickel or foreign blank. These rare finds can fetch hundreds of dollars at auction. For values, the 1987 D is generally worth only 25 cents in circulation, but uncirculated examples in MS-65 range from $10 to $15. Exceptional pieces graded MS-67 or higher are scarce and can command $200 or more, making them highly sought after by registry collectors. What makes the 1987 D interesting is not rarity, but timing. It represents one of the last ordinary quarters before the explosion of collector interest in the late 1990s. For many numismatists, owning this coin is like holding a calm before the storm, a quiet moment before the U.S. Mint revolutionized quarters forever. And so, we've journeyed through three fascinating coins: the 1966 quarter dollar, the 1977 quarter dollar, and the 1987 D quarter dollar. From the silver shortage of the 1960s to the steady designs of the 1970s, and finally to the transitional years of the 1980s, each coin has a story far greater than its 25-cent value. Thank you for joining me on this numismatic adventure. If you enjoyed learning about these coins, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into coin history. And remember, the next time you check your change, you might just be holding a piece of America's past. Stay tuned, coin lovers, because the journey has only just begun.